George Kilpatrick, inspiration for the nation on this Valentine's Day. Who else? Who we would invite, but the date doctor, Dr. Ish Major, America's favorite psychiatrist, host of WeTV's Marriage Boot Camp Hip Hop. I always say Hip Hop Edition. That's one of the editions. Marriage Boot Camp Reality Stars, baby. That's what we do here. And of course, Dr. Ish is, of course, a friend of the program, a longtime friend of the program, author, talk show host, frequent contributor on many programs. We're so glad that you could join us today, Doc, on Valentine's Day. And I'm wearing red. I know the brothers of Omega Psi Phi are like, what the heck you doing in that red? But it is Valentine's Day. And that's the only reason, Doc, that I'm in this red.
Listen, we all come home to the crimson at some point, man.
Oh, okay. Don't even do that. No way. No chance of that, my brother. But good to see you as always.
Good to see you, George. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so this is the day of love. So is this a day to sit it out, or this is a day that you better show up? Give us some tips, Doc. How should this day go? Now, it's early in the morning. People still have time. So let's talk about how men should be thinking about this and how women should be thinking about this.
Well, it depends on where you are, right? And depends on what kind of love you got and the kind of love you want next week.
Stop right here, bro. I'm getting a vibe from you because I'm getting a vibe from you. And and I'll say this, because you always say, and this is I've been hearing from you that sometimes putting all that work in isn't necessary because it may not. You've been on that vibe lately. And is that just me or is that for real?
You've got to take an honest assessment of where you are, right? What did 2020 teach us? 2020 taught us exactly where we were. On December 31st, 2020, you knew exactly what you had and exactly what you didn't have. And on no other day in the year is it more clear to you what you have in your love life and what you don't have in your love life than on Valentine's Day. So that's the first thing you got to do is tell the first person you see that morning, which is usually you in the mirror, the truth about what you got and what you don't got. And then from there, now we can talk about some things you can do to get it back on track.
How deep is, I mean, you got me thinking, that's really profound what you said, because but maybe it isn't. We know what we got, don't we? No, we know what we got.
No, we don't. We don't know what we got.
Okay, let me push back on that just a minute. We don't want to face what we have, but we know what we got. Am I right? Talk to me, Doc. Talk to me. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Exactly. So you got to be honest, right? Because the truth is nobody's doing it right. Myself, any relationship, love.group, nobody does it right because we're talking about two imperfect humans trying to do this thing together. So be honest about what you have, what you don't have. And then from there, understand what you need to do. Now, the good news is what you need to do is very, very basic. Whether you're a male, whether you're a female, or somewhere in between, right? You're going to have to respond with some kindness, and you're going to have to respond with some respect, and you're going to have to respond with some thought and some consideration, right? Whatever that is. Maybe it's right? And so this is going to require you to think about who you have, right? And what do they need? This is you giving them something. Now you're doing something for them. So what's their love language? How do they need to receive it? It's not about how you want to give it. You know what I mean? You're not Bob Barker. I'm going to buy her a new car. No, right? What does she need? Does she need a break today? Does she need a nap today? Does she need you to just cook dinner today? Does she need you to take the kids for a walk and just give her 30 minutes of peace of mind today? Does she want a new outfit? Does she want, right? Think about who you've got and think about what they need. Does she need an active service? Do something nice, something thoughtful? Do they want gifts, right? Do they want some physicality today? Some affection in a physical way? Do they simply need you to pat them on the shoulder and look them in the eyes and say, hey, you know what? I'm loving me some you today. So you got to know who you got, right? And then do that, because we think it takes the big grand gesture, and that's nice, right? Because we all want to know that we're wanted, and we all want to be able to show the world that we're worthy of this. So the flowers are nice and all those things are cool, but what it really takes, the thing that's really going to last and linger, is the consideration and the thought you put into it, because it's always the smaller sentiment that makes the bigger splash.
Well, a lot of us will be in the store getting flowers. So that's basic is what you're saying. What's beyond the roses or beyond the whatever it is,
Right?
what's the basic, right?
Right.
That's the basics. Okay, so we're gonna take an honest assessment. Who do I have and
Yeah.
what do they need?
Right.
And how do I, but then and provide the need based on my willingness to give that to them, is what I'm hearing you say.
Your willingness.
Did I say what I say? What I say?
You said the magic word. You've got to be willing.
Ooh.
Right? You got to be willing. You got to be willing to make the gesture today, to go the extra mile today, to inconvenience yourself today. If it feels like a sacrifice, it's not going to be received well, right? It's just not. So that's the thing. You've got to be willing. And you've got to be willing just from a place of giving. Hey, it's not about me today. If I get something back from you, great. But today is a day I want you to know how much I appreciate you. And that it's got to come from there, right?
You know, talking with Dr. Ish Major, it is Valentine's Day, and we want to make sure that the day goes right for you. But you didn't put a wrinkle in it, because you said, look over that person and this is who you really have. All right, so you told what we could do for her, which you said starts with listening to who she is if you're in a straight relationship. So what about what he's got to do? What has she got to do for him?
Okay, so if you're coming from a feminine energy and you're going to try to do something for your partner who's got the masculine energy, again, it's the same scenario, right? Because whether you got that feminine or masculine energy, we all got that
language,
energy.
brother. Thank you for that language, because that includes everybody. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we all have that human energy, which says, I want to be seen by you. I want to be heard by you. I want to be understood by you. So anything you do for me today, as long as it's conveying to me that you see me, you hear me, you understand me, then I'm going to be cool with that. So for that masculine energy, what is that masculine alpha leadership energy like? Well, we want something that's going to remind us how strong we are, how powerful we are. You know what I mean? We want to be your big, bad, bold protector, right? Give us something that shows some appreciation from that. A lot of times it can be as simple as the words, because we just don't hear it. As a guy with that masculine energy, think about how many times you hear that during a week. My big, strong guy, those little things go a long, long way, ladies. And so he wants what you want. The masculine energy wants what the feminine energy wants.
I know what he wants, but we can't talk about that on the air Sunday morning, but go ahead.
Which is recognition. So if he wants the physicality, if he wants sex, understand this as well. Understand what sex means and understands what sex doesn't mean, right? You can't breathe life into a dead relationship by sprinkling a little sex on top. You can't.
We think we can, though. And we think we can do that. If a lot of relationships that are toxic, we feel like sex will cure that. And it does, as my father would always say, the thrill of the moment is not everlasting.
Yeah, right? Sex can be the salvation of a dying relationship for a time, but it's just that. It's just for a time. And at some point, that distraction is going to go away and you got to deal with what you got. Sex is not love. Sex is sex, right? Love is love. But then that gets us into a whole nother question. What is love? How do you define it? How do you know?
Okay, so this is Valentine's Day. You're the psychiatrist. So what is love?
Well,
brother, what's love?
In fact, at its most.
I'm gonna add one more thing. And what's love got to do with it? Talk to me, brother.
Shout out to Tina Turner, y'all. So listen, love is one of those words where we have to use another word. We have to pair it with another word just to define it, right? It's usually love and belonging, because that's what we're looking for, right? We're not loving. And so to me, love is you allowing yourself to be seen at your most vulnerable and your most powerful self. And the second part of that is having that vulnerable, empowerable self embraced by the person you're showing it to, right? It's got to come in those two parts. And so that's what it is to me, right? Because now you feel like this person sees me and they embrace and they accept all of that.
And I think that the conflict or the tension comes around how you see me in those parts. That's the tension, right? Because some people see those vulnerabilities and they exploit them, right? Or they use them against the person, right? And so those are so that's I wanted you to lean into that a little bit more because I think that there's something there.
That's right. So if you've got somebody who you show your most vulnerable sides to, and they don't treat that with tenderness and kindness and sweetness and compassion, then that's a person you can't trust, right? And anybody you can't trust is a person you can't love, right? One of the things that's got half of the folks watching this stuck where they're stuck with somebody they don't want to be with is because they'll wake up every morning and they're looking over and they're trying to make themselves trust somebody they don't trust. Right? This is one of those things you're not going to be able to fake. And so if that happens, then what you have now is somebody who doesn't love you, right? Or somebody who doesn't have the capacity to love because maybe they just never seen it. Maybe they don't know how. Whatever that insight is, doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, this is a person who can't love you the way you deserve to be loved. Now you've got to make a decision.
You know, you had mentioned, so let's talk. Two things have popped into my head. I write down what I want to get to on that. But I'm thinking then you had a whole list of what we could do for feminine energy, but you didn't have a whole list of what could be done for masculine energy. So
because the masculine energy doesn't need much. Right? We don't require a whole lot. We require recognition.
That ain't right though.
Well, it's how we set it up, because we don't talk a lot about what we need, right? And we don't
talk about that,
right? We don't verbalize what we need. They don't make movies about what guys want.
right. What women want is a movie, right?
Right. So that's the thing. And so the world doesn't know because a lot of times we don't know it. And it's a bigger thing, right? The reason we don't have what we want in life is usually because most of us don't really know what that is. And so if you ask 10 guys, 7 out of those, if you ask 10 guys, what is you want in a relationship? 7 out of those 10 guys, they won't really have a clear answer for you because they don't think about it. They just go on feel. If this happens, I'll feel good. And if this happens, I'll feel good. And they run that list. But if you ask a woman, what do I need? Oh my God, you know what? I need him to be 6'5" and look like Denzel and have a bank account like this and treat me this way and take me these places and text me this many times a day and go out on dates and we need to have sex this many times a week. Right? All of these things, because they think about it and they talk about it and they verbalize it. They've got an emotional vocabulary to express it. So that masculine energy, right? Where we were raised, how we were taught in the West, it's to push those kind of emotions down and not broaden that emotional vocabulary. So you can admit to those things. So, you know, if you're a feminine, if you got that feminine energy trying to please your masculine energy today, you've got a very easy job. Make them feel more masculine. That's it.
So you talked about energies, and I want to pick up on that. In terms of same gender relationships, is that always the energy that is present? And is that how we describe that energy? Or in same gender relationships?
Yeah, right. So even in the same gender relationship, we're all a mix. We've got, my mom and dad were together for 56 years, but I have 5 sisters and 8 aunts who are all right there. So I got a healthy dose of feminine energy, which is probably what allows me to have that emotional vocabulary, right? But we're all a mixed, right? It's never 50-50. It's never straight down the line. And there's no right or wrong mix. There's no such thing as having too much or too little, depending on how you were biologically born. But you've got to be able to identify it and identify with it and allow it to be seen. Don't try to press it down. That's a part of who you are. And so in any relationship, same sex or heterosexual, there's going to be a mix of masculine and feminine energy, and one partner is always going to have a little more than the other and a little bit less. It's like my sister. She's been married to her lady for the last 10 plus years. When the day they got married, she looked at me, she said, same sex, same problems. Right? So that's just what it is. So you're always going to be doing that dance and trying to identify who you have, right? It's a human thing. Yeah, it's a man and a woman and a trans thing and all these things in between. But the bigger thing is it's a human thing, and we've all got to mix of those energies.
And I mentioned that because I don't want to, what do you call, heteronormative this
Right.
thing. It's
Yeah.
all the, you know what I mean? I wanted to bring
exactly.
everybody into the conversations. All right. So how important a day is this?
It's a big day, right? It's a big day. Because if you got that feminine energy, what do you want, right? You want to be clean today, George. Show me something. If you don't have flowers coming to my job that I can flaunt around in all these other ladies' faces, something is going on, right?
So obviously it's today, and they needed to have done it already. But if they didn't do it on Friday, then they need to do it today.
You better show up at her job at 5 o'clock with a handful of flowers so her co-workers can see you. That's what you better do.
I love it. So with that being said, then you do have to show up today.
You got to show up today, right? Today of all days, you've got to show up, right? And the more they protest and pretend that you don't need to, the more you better. Right? Right? Because your partner has to know that they are the most important thing in your world, right? At the end of the day, they're the most important person to you. That's what they got to know. And today is the day of all days. Can you show me that today? I get it. You're tired after work on Friday and you had a long week. And so the weekend was a wash, or your mom was sick, or the kids are bugging us both. All those things happen. But on today, right, of all days, this is the day we're going to dedicate to each other to show each other that, right? So you've got to show up if you're going to try.
One thing that you said that I wanted to pick up on, and you and I have frank conversations, so let's put it out there. You said we don't say what we want or need, but some of us, in not saying what we want or need, go find that somewhere else. I needed to bring that into the conversation, brother, right? Because so speak to that, or am I off base? And I'm happy to be off base when I say that. Listen, George, you bugging on that.
Some of us have extra problems today because some of us got extra sets of flowers we got to buy. Okay. Right? And so that's tying
it back to the conversation about I'm not expressing what I need to you, so then I go find it somewhere else where I get in trouble with that. Is that a fair correlation, or is that totally off base?
It is. So you're tying it right in, right? So the question is, why do we look elsewhere? Why do we look outside the relationship to get those needs met when we've got somebody right here who's supposed to be, wanting to meet those needs? Well, maybe they don't know because maybe you didn't tell them, right? We get into relationships and we assume people should know what we want and need because they know us. Well, no, you've also got to verbalize that, right? Because the thing you were into when we met, you're probably not into anymore. Right? The thing that did it for you 10 years ago ain't doing it for you now, right? And we forget to update our partners. We forget to give them the download. My iPhone will automatically update when I shut it off at night, and in the morning I don't have to worry about it. It right? But we don't do that with our partners, right? Because of shame, because of change, because of disconnection. We don't want them to think we've changed. We're not the same person they met way back when love was all good. Maybe the stuff I'm into now is a little weird and I don't really want to tell you, right? Whatever those things are, you've got to trust that they can still see you and they're still going to accept you. And you've got to tell them, but to tell them, you need to know what that is. Like for me, what are my love languages? You know what? I like acts of service. Do something to help make my life a little bit easier. I like gifts, and I'm a techie, so if it can plug in, I'm probably gonna like it, right? And I like words. I need to hear it. Hey, just tell me you appreciate me today. That's good for me. Once I found the courage to start telling my lady that, things got a lot better because now she don't have to figure it out.
Yeah, you said something earlier in this I'm talking about right now, then
Mhm.
we can go on and on. I'm more hype up now. But you talked to you. I saw this over the couple on Good Morning America this week, and I think you just hit on it. Who I was, who we were when we first to get like if you've been married for a long time,
Yep.
who you were then isn't necessarily who you are now. And so in some ways you may have to reintroduce yourself to your partner because you may things are different and you don't
Right.
you think it's you still talking about what y'all when y'all were 21 or 19 or whatever age y'all
Right.
met or 31 or whatever it was, and now y'all in a different decade of life and it's not the same as it was when you were first when you first met or even 10 years ago. It isn't the
Right.
same, and we
Right.
forget that part, right? So say something about that.
So, Einstein has this famous quote that says, every man wants to marry a woman who he thinks will never change, and every woman wants to marry a man who will.
Who will?
And in the end, we're both disappointed. Right? So what does that? So what does that say? Every guy, so you got that masculine energy, right? And you got this cute, beautiful, sexy, sweet, feminine thing. You don't want that to ever change, right? Who she was in 1995 is who you want her to be in 2035, and that's just not the case, right? And if you're that feminine, nurturing, loving energy who's going to take this thing and mold it and shape it and watch it grow into something more. You're going to take that little acorn and watch it grow into a mighty oak. You want him to change. Mm-hmm. The guy he was 10 years ago, you need to see something more now. Mm-hmm. And he may not be that, right? He may be fine being the same guy. And so you've got to understand. So what happens is we're getting the two things confused, fitting in and belonging. And most of us, half of our relationship, we're just trying to fit in now, right? We don't want to be seen as awkward. We don't want to be seen as outside the box. We just want to fit in. So when you try to fit in, that's inauthentic, because fitting in means I'm taking an assessment of the situation and I am going to curtail my behavior in such a way and modify myself in such a way that will be presentable and acceptable to you, because I just want to fit in. I don't want to make no ripples. But if I want to belong, right? If I want to belong to you and I want you to belong, then that requires me to show you my most authentic self and just trust you're going to embrace it and accept it. And so we confuse the two because fitting in is much easier during the day, right? Oh, I'm not going to say that because that's going to cause a fight. I can't tell I don't like that because they're going to start tripping. I can't, right? So that's fitting in. And now you're being inauthentic and now they don't know who you are. And you do that long enough, you forget who you are.
Well, listen, Dr. Ish has a whole lot of advice. You check out his IG page, his Facebook page, Twitter page. Your brother's always dropping nuggets. Always dropping nuggets. But here's what we want to do. We wanted to have Dr. Ish, and I don't know if we decided we can do this, but if we can do this, we're going to set up a Facebook Live on Wednesday night at 7 Eastern time, Doc. What you think?
That works for me.
We'll do a Zoom Facebook Live thing and get you involved.
Yeah.
And Dr. Ish will take your questions.
I like questions.
Live.
Questions good.
So let's do this. If you got questions for Dr. Ish, let's get them ready. He will answer those questions live. And hopefully you still with the one you were supposed to be with after the show, because Dr. Ish, I think you done broke up some relationships today because they looked over.
But here's the thing, right?
Go ahead.
No matter what you have, and no matter how empty or how little that may feel today, if they are there, they're there for one reason only, and that's because a part of them still believes they can make you happy, right? So you talk to that part. You don't talk to their illness. Don't talk to the cheating part. Don't talk to the lying part. Don't talk to the part who's disappointed you. Don't talk to the part who hurt your feelings. Don't talk to the part who's calling you names. Talk to the part of them that's there because they believe they can still make you happy, right? The reason people aren't giving you what you want is because what they think you think about them, right? So let them know that you think something new. Hey, I still see you in there. You know what I mean? We've been through some stuff, but that part of you that I fell in love with, I can still see my way to that. talk to that part today.
Today.
Right? Yeah.
Now, tomorrow, get your out of here. But today, hey, Doctor, it's so always good. Boy, that's a whole nother story. As my friend Dr. Rick would say, Doc, we love you, man. Valentine's Day, you know, let's make it happen.
Yep.
And you did say something that struck me, and I probably needed to say it. You said that makes you happy, but we all know that nobody can make me happy. I can be happy when I'm with you, but you can make me happy.
Right. We can share that vibe. Exactly right. We can share that vibe, but you can't make me feel anything. Right. I'm responsible for my feeling, and then I'm gonna share that with you. You know. Yeah.
All right, my brother, Dr. Ish Major. You can find him on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. The brothers, and he's got advice for us. He is the Date Doctor, host of Marriage Boot Camp Reality Style on We TV.
George, one more thing before I go, man. Let me just say,
yes,
that crimson looks marvelous on you, brother.
No. Let me just say that this is only for Valentine's Day. No other day would I have. Now I'm to get rid of this thing. Wait, you see this cut, brother? You see that? You see that cut, brother? Let's just be clear. Let's be clear.
Everybody come home to Kappa at some point, man. Just come go and embrace it.
Let's be clear, brother. Let's be clear. Omega Psi Phi till I die, brother. You good. Information for the nation.